October 15, 2025. The night air in the Philippines was thick with humidity, and the cities of Manila and Davao buzzed with their usual energy. People were winding down, some heading home, others still out enjoying the evening, unaware of the disaster about to unfold. Suddenly, at exactly 8:47 p.m., Mindanao's evening was shattered by a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. There was no warning, just a deafening roar as the earth split open beneath the feet of thousands. The ground trembled, with a force that seemed to come from the very core of the planet. The ground heaved violently, tossing people off their feet. Panic erupted instantly as families clung to each other, trying desperately to stay upright. The shaking seemed endless, each second stretching into eternity. In Davao and Cagayan de Oro, skyscrapers shattered, glass raining down from above, and concrete buildings collapsed into heaps of rubble. Streets that were once familiar became unrecognizable, buried under debris. Darkness fell as power lines snapped, plunging neighborhoods into pitch black. Roads split apart, making travel impossible and isolating entire communities from help. The city's heartbeat was silenced in an instant. In remote mountain villages, homes crumbled like sandcastles, and landslides buried generations of memories under tons of earth. Families were separated, and the landscape itself was forever changed. The familiar sounds of daily life vanished, replaced by the relentless rumble of moving earth and desperate cries for help echoing through the night. Sirens wailed as emergency responders rushed into the chaos. Survivors clawed out of debris, their hands bloodied but determined. Strangers became allies, sharing water, blankets, and comfort in the darkness. Acts of kindness flickered like candles amid the devastation. Dust and the sharp smell of gas filled the air, making it hard to breathe. Every aftershock sent new waves of panic as people feared buildings would collapse further or fires would break out. People huddled in parks, basketball courts, and open spaces, too afraid to return indoors. Families clung together, children crying softly, everyone waiting for dawn and hoping for safety. It was a night of terror and survival, a night that changed everything. Tears flowed freely as people mourned what was lost and clung to what remained. The world had cracked open, leaving scars on both the land and its people. In the aftermath, nothing would ever be the same. Just as the dust began to settle, 3 days after the first disaster, a second, even more powerful earthquake struck offshore. This one registered a staggering magnitude of 8.1, sending shockwaves of fear and panic through the already traumatized communities. The quake triggered immediate tsunami warnings, forcing thousands to flee for their lives once again, barely having recovered from the initial shock. The destruction was unimaginable. This second quake finished off what little remained standing. Buildings that had survived the first tremor now crumbled, and entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble. Bridges collapsed, cutting off vital routes for rescue and relief. Hope faded with every aftershock. And then, as if nature itself was relentless, Super Typhoon Amihan began barreling toward the devastated region, threatening to erase what was left. Survivors, already reeling, crowded into makeshift shelters, bracing themselves against torrential rain and howling winds. The sound of the storm outside was deafening, and fear hung heavy in the air. Streets quickly transformed into raging rivers, swallowing up the land that had been reshaped by the earthquakes. Floodwaters surged through towns, making escape nearly impossible. Flash floods swept away what little the earthquakes had spared, carrying debris and memories downstream in a torrent of destruction. Families scrambled desperately to higher ground, enduring a relentless cycle. First a quake, then a stronger quake, and now a super typhoon. Each disaster seemed to build upon the last, testing their endurance. Before the floodwaters from Amihan could even recede, news broke that Super Typhoon Baising, even more powerful, was taking aim at the same battered provinces. The threat felt never-ending. The emergency announcement echoed through the shelters, and for many, it felt like a death sentence, an unthinkable blow after so much loss. Baising flattened what little was left, triggering more landslides and overwhelming already exhausted emergency services. The devastation seemed total. The chain of disasters was now complete, a deep scar across the land and its people, one that would last for generations and be remembered in stories and scars alike. How much more could people possibly take? The question lingered in every exhausted face and every tear-streaked cheek. Yet, the answer emerged in the days that followed. Filipinos could endure more than anyone thought possible, finding strength in each other and hope in the darkest of times. Amid the chaos and devastation that swept through towns and cities, the world seemed to stand still. Streets once filled with laughter were now silent, covered in debris and uncertainty. Yet, in the heart of this turmoil, stories of resilience and hope shone brightest, illuminating even the darkest corners. Neighbors became family, strangers became friends, and the spirit of Bayanihan, the Filipino tradition of communal unity, came alive. In a small coastal town, Manglito, a humble fisherman led his neighbors to a chapel perched on a hill as tsunami sirens blared in the distance. They huddled together, trembling but alive, having lost everything but their lives and each other. A young girl, her eyes wide with fear and hope, clung tightly to her teddy bear, her only possession left after the flood swept away her home. That simple toy became her anchor in a world turned upside down. Paolo, a boy barely in his teens, became a guardian to his younger siblings in a crowded evacuation center. Each night he told them stories, tales of heroes and hope, to comfort them through the storm and remind them of brighter days ahead. Villagers, cut off by landslides and rising waters, worked together to build bamboo rafts. With these makeshift vessels they ferried the elderly, the sick and the children across raging rivers, risking their own safety for the sake of others. Maria, a young mother, carried her infant in one arm and a bag of clothes in the other, while her husband pushed an elderly neighbor in a wheelchair through thick mud for kilometers, determined to reach the nearest aid center in safety. A devoted son carried his frail father to safety on his back, step by step. A teacher, refusing to rest, braved the storm to search for missing families, ensuring no one was left behind. Rescuers risked their lives to help the most vulnerable. These were not grand gestures, but quiet, everyday acts of love, compassion, and duty. Small kindnesses, a shared meal, a comforting word, a helping hand, became lifelines in the darkness. In the darkest times, humanity's light endured. Candlelight vigils glowed softly in the night, survivors held hands, and hope flickered in their eyes, refusing to be extinguished by disaster. Even when all seemed lost, the capacity to care, to reach out and support one another, remained unbroken. It was this spirit that carried communities through the storm. That is what truly survived the storm, the unbreakable bonds of family, friendship, and community, shining brighter than any tragedy could ever dim. Why did disaster after disaster strike? Scientists explained, the megaquake destabilized the land, causing soil liquefaction, solid ground turned to mud, primed for flooding. Earthquakes triggered landslides and left hillsides fractured. When Typhoon Amihan hit, rain turned loose soil into deadly mudflows. Rivers changed course, new flood basins formed, and coastal lands sank, letting storm surges reach farther inland. The region was primed for maximum destruction, a textbook compound disaster. The Philippines sits on the ring of fire and in the typhoon belt. These hazards are interconnected. An earthquake can set the stage for a flood. A volcano can change weather. Disaster plans must be connected, not isolated. Earthquake drills and typhoon prep must go hand in hand. The lesson is clear. Prepare for disasters to strike together. Our survival depends on it. Amid destruction, Filipino heroes emerged, ordinary people with extraordinary courage. Local rescue teams, despite their own losses, dug through rubble with bare hands, guided by hope and local knowledge. Scientists at Fivolx and Pagasa worked non-stop, mapping danger zones and tracking storms, giving life-saving warnings. Medical frontliners set up clinics in ruins, treating injuries and infections with limited supplies. Volunteers from across the country organized relief drives, delivered aid, and rescued families by boat and truck. In evacuation centers, mothers cooked for all, and students packed relief goods. This was Bayanihan, community unity, at its strongest. In the Philippines, no one faces disaster alone. The spirit of helping each other is our greatest strength. It's what carried us through the worst. Social media became both a lifeline and a hazard. Government agencies used Facebook and X to share real-time warnings and coordinate rescues. Hashtags helped locate the trapped. Viral posts brought supplies and rescue to those in need. Families reconnected, and citizens became part of the solution. But misinformation spread just as fast. Fake news, rumors, and panic hampered rescue efforts. False claims led to distrust and chaos, forcing authorities to fight an infodemic alongside the disaster. The lesson: digital literacy is as vital as a go bag. Verify before sharing. Unverified info can cause real harm. In a connected world, our first defense is a critical mind. We must navigate information as carefully as floodwaters. Today, Mindanao's scars remain, but so does a new story. Pagbangan, rising up from adversity with courage and hope. Earthquake-resilient homes are being built, mangroves replanted, and community drills practiced with urgency and determination. Preparedness is now a lifeline. Go bags, evacuation plans, and hazard maps are part of daily life, woven into our routines. The disasters taught us that resilience is more than survival. It's about helping each other rebuild. The Filipino spirit, Bayanihan, proved unbreakable and inspiring. The question isn't if another disaster will come, but when it will strike our communities again. Science says it's inevitable, but we are not helpless. We can always take action. We can prepare, listen to real warnings, and strengthen our communities together every single day. The memory of 2025 is our reminder. Our hope lies in preparation, knowledge, and in each other's support. Together, we rise stronger than before, united by hope and resilience.